Welcome to this week's Endurance for Everyone podcast.
The following program is for entertainment purposes only. Though the hosts of this show are certified Ironman coaches, their attempts at long-course triathlons and endurance events should not be taken as an endorsement for you to do something stupid too. You should make your own bad decisions, then podcast about it. Now, let's start the show.
Ho, Merry Christmas, everyone. This is episode 166 of the Endurance for Everyone podcast, and it's December 24th. I just got done with my 4-mile run, and now it's just time to sit and wait for Santa Claus to come visit me. I hope everyone's having a good holiday, getting their runs in if they need to, but more importantly, spending time with your family and loved ones, whatever that may be, and enjoy the holidays, and It's still a weird thing for me to be alone on the holidays, so I'm still getting used to it. You have your ups and downs when that comes, but you work through it and you move forward. So let's get on with the show. You know what? During my run today, and I don't know if it's the belly or the beard, but I got yelled at least 5 times by kids thinking I was Santa Claus. And I hear from the inside of the house, all I hear is these little kids yelling, Santa's outside. And I think it's adorable. I don't think it's adorable when older kids and adults yell at me and saying, oh, look, it's Santa Claus. But that's beside the point. As a big guy, and I know there's bigger people that listen to this show, and I wonder if everybody has this issue. I've always had an issue with clothing and trying to find the perfect clothing to run in, to bike in, to do triathlons in, something that's comfortable. And unless you're a bigger person, you don't really have this issue, I don't think. But I'm wondering if anybody out there can help me with this. I've never had the issue where shorts can both ride up on you and ride down on you at the same time. And here's the issue. When your thighs kind of meet in the middle, your shorts on the inside tend to ride up on your leg. And I'm always kind of kicking my leg out to the side to get the shorts to fall down. But at the same time, while that's doing that, because of my belly, the shorts ride down off of my waist. I guess it is, it's trying to find my waist, but rides down below the belly. And no matter how much I search on Google or anywhere or ask people, nobody really has a solution to this issue. So I'm trying to figure out. I mean, the solution for the inside of the legs is to wear running tights, and because when you're running using triathlon shorts or tights like that, they don't ride up, which is fine, but they do still ride down below the belly. And we've talked about it before on other shows and in the blog a few times, that I've yet to find a tri-top that doesn't turn into a belly shirt after the swim. It just rides up above the belly, and you come out of the water, thinking you're really cool. You just did the swim part of a triathlon and you're feeling good, and you come out and the shirt's up above up to your chest, and your tri shorts are down below your belly, and you look like Chris Farley in the Patrick Swayze Chippendales episode. It's a problem. It's a problem. First world problems. But in triathlon, that's why I always wear a tri-suit, because then you don't have to worry about that stuff. But in running, I was actually the other day looking at my tri-suits thinking, is it possible I could do a marathon in one of these suits, and just so I don't have to worry about it anymore? it's just one of those things that, it's an issue that bigger people have, and I'm sure that I pay more attention to it than other people around me pay attention to it, but it's just not comfortable. So if anybody has like an idea on how to deal with this in a way, I would really, really, really appreciate some input.
Ready to start your journey? Whether it's your first workout or you are a seasoned athlete, Endurance for Everyone Coaching wants to work with you. Our coaching team has worked with athletes from beginners to USAT national qualifiers and are comprised of experienced runners, cyclists, and triathletes who have a passion for healthy living and have been where you are. We offer comprehensive coaching programs from weekly support to basic consultation, all designed to help you achieve your goals. If you want to take your performance to the next level, look no further than Endurance for Everyone Coaching. Go to www.teamE4E.com and click on the coaching link, or send an email to teamE4E@enduranceforeveryone.com. And let's get started.
I joined Masters Swimming last week. And I know if you've been following this podcast and blog, that will come as a great shock to a lot of people. But hanging out more with Karen and kind of getting the bug and the feel for swimming, I'm starting to think that I need to add a lot more to it. Not only for my own mental purposes, but to kind of get more comfortable in the water and allow myself to maybe go back to long course triathlon eventually, because that's the thing that's been holding me up. And it's not that I can't do it. I can get out there and swim. I've obviously done it before, but it's still a mental issue. It's related to weight. It's related to a fear of not being able to breathe because of the cancer damage that I have. But I feel that if I get into a more organized training program, that this might help. And after meeting Karen and her being involved in Masters Swimming and actually more involved into the senior games, I'm starting to get the feeling that maybe it will be helpful. So I went out and I joined the Masters Swimming program, U.S. Masters Swimming, and will be training after Disney in a couple weeks with the Tampa Bay area Aquatic Masters, Tampa Bay Aquatic Masters, TBM, which swims in the Tampa Bay area. Probably just once a week for a while, see how it goes. But I want to get to the point where I feel very comfortable in the water. I think I could be a very good swimmer, and that's the bottom line. So I think just having more of a focused training plan, focused people that will help me work through some of the mental issues that I have, and it will help me like further on, even with other things, because I do enjoy swimming and I want to be able to do it better, and I guess that's the point. But I spoke about the senior games, and I went to the most recent one. I went to one that Karen Ness was involved in and got to do timing actually. But I kind of got the bug, and I'm looking around, and I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but at 55, I think I can be competitive in some of these things, and maybe not swimming because these guys are very, very fast and they've been swimming their whole lives. But I was looking at some of the other events, and the one that kind of drew me was actually powerlifting. And I know I'm not going to, I haven't done that in, decades. But I think with my background and with some training behind me that I actually could probably, if not, I'm not thinking that I can win anything, but I think that I can be competitive. And as it goes along, with most things, that the longer you last, the less people that are in your age group. And it feels weird, I know, that to think that at the age of 55 I can compete in the senior games, but they actually start at 50. I know of a few, Karen being one, but I know of a few others that are just 50 years old and are already competing in these things. And I don't think it gives you any great advantage to be at the younger end of those. I was seeing some swimmers there that were well into their 60s, and one woman was actually, I believe, and Karen can correct me if I'm wrong, she was in her 90s, and she was last, but she was out there doing it, and it was kind of cool to see her out there competing at the age of 90, 93, I think it was, but again, she can correct me. And just seeing her still competing, so it's something to look forward to. After Disney, of course, I'm not doing anything before Disney. Once Disney is over, I figure I'm going to add a swim back into the mix. I have an MS ride, charity ride in May. I think it's May. 100 miles in Bach Tower. If you're from Florida, you know where that is. And really focus on Infinitus in June. And then after that, kind of hopefully start looking again at triathlons and some other stuff. I just want to kind of branch out and see what else is out there, and see if I can eventually find after all these years myself. A little bit disjointed, but it's kind of the way my mind and life is going right now. I've kind of been holding off on actually writing anything for a while because of it, but there's been major changes over the past year, past 2 years, past 3 years, and it's time to start getting some of this stuff out of my head and into the Googleverse, I guess you could call it. So if it does come across a little bit disjointed, I apologize in advance. The main change is that at 55 years old, this is the first time I've ever lived alone. And I know that's kind of hard to believe because I was 17 when I joined the Navy, but you're not living alone in the Navy. You're living in berthing apartments and, in boot camp, you're living with berthing with everybody. And then on ships, you're living in berthing apartments with 50 other people. So, it's for the best, and it has been welcomed by the majority of my friends as a positive step forward. It's difficult to handle sometimes, especially during the holidays. The bottom line is I was married for 24 years, and that is hard to cut off no matter how the relationship had become more of, at the end. And it's really not a hate relationship. I still care for my son, and I still care for my ex very much. And it was just time for it to be over. And, it kind of was weird after a while. I was told by one of my clients at that point that to be very careful because it was very easy to get used to being alone, and I really didn't understand that at the point. But I've started to see this actually more lately, that I've started to become very comfortable with being by myself, and even when other people have come into my life, in and out of my life, it's the preference for being by myself is always there now. So I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. I think that has become way too easy, and so a lot of this is due to the core friends that I've had, coming up through triathlon and running are not in the area anymore, and that's part of it. And my clients are spread from Pennsylvania to Delaware to New York to California, Boston. And, and most of the teammates that I had are Orlando. So it's a period of adjustment, and I continue to recognize this. and not to sound corny, but you have to rediscover who John is. And I know how stupid that sounds, but I mentioned this when talking with a friend. What if I discover who John is and I'm not fond of him? And we always become hardest on ourselves, and that's just part of it. So I need to focus on being what I need to be and I want to be, and focus on becoming a better coach for my clients, building on the podcast, building on the blog, the Fat Slow Triathlete blog that I've kind of let go for a long time now, becoming healthier, becoming fitter, becoming more active, the same things that I've been talking about for years. And it's just a non-ending thing, but I need to get a hold of it. I still think of odd things at times, and it's just the way my mind works. I'm the type that everything can be going great, and I'll still think, yeah, but. And I try not to do that, and it never works. I was even thinking yesterday about Christmas. I think I posted a little joke thing about this is my Christmas tree, and it was an ornament hanging off the end of my guitar. And I think about that every Christmas, ever since I've been on my own. Should you get a tree, and why do you need a tree? And there will be nothing under it. Do I spend it alone? Do I go visit family? How about Thanksgiving? Do I become one of these hungry man Thanksgiving dinner people? Do I start going to the movies alone? I was given a few books the other day to read, and if you don't know me, I like to read a lot of things. I don't always finish everything, but I'll buy books all the time just because I like to read. I like to see how things are different in other people's minds and see if I can pick up on some ideas. And I mentioned in the last little segment about focus, and I noticed in this book, the book is Awaken the Olympian Within, and it's really just a collection of stories from people who have been in the Olympics and kind of their how they were motivated and things like this. And I was just kind of flipping through, and I came upon one that was actually written by Nadia Comaneci and Bart Carner. And if you don't know who those are, you can Google. I'm not going to go into it, but it was talking about focus, and I found it very interesting. And focus to them, and I'll just go through real quick, but focus to them is an anagram for focus. So it stands for, F is for find your talents, O is for observe your role models, C is for challenge yourself, U is for utilize your resources, and S is to strive to make a difference. And in reading it, I found it kind of, everybody can kind of do this. So just to go through it. So for F is find your talents. And I think that's like important. It's like everybody can't be good at everything. So that's just a quick way of saying that. I think when you're going through, and kind of like I was talking about in one of the first segments, is that I'm trying to still find my zone, my wheelhouse, the thing that I can maybe not win at, but I can be really kind of competitive in. And I know that I could be if the weight came off, and I constantly work on that. But even without the weight coming off, there are things that I could probably be competitive in as it goes on. And sometimes your talent is not in competition itself. Your talent might be in the coaching aspect or in the helping others aspect. And I say that because I always used a example when people might look at me and see what I look like, and I'm a heavy guy, and say, well, how can he coach if he's never been on a podium? How can he coach people to be on a podium? And the example I always give is that, the greatest, in my opinion, coach of all time in the NFL is Don Shula. And I know people are going to say Bill Belichick, but Don Shula has the most wins. Never played in a Super Bowl, never played in a championship, never was a starter in the NFL, although he played in the NFL. And even, but he has the most wins in NFL history as a coach. Even go to Bill Belichick, never even played football. So you don't have to be good at what you're coaching to be able to coach it. And that's their talent. They found their talent when Shula was playing for the Giants or playing for the Lions, back in the 40s and 50s. He realized that's not what he's going to be good at. He was good at coaching. So I think one of the big deals is to find out what you're good at and kind of focus on your talents. And in that vein, you have observe your role models for the O, observe your role models. And in that, what they're talking about is finding somebody who you want to be like. And kind of, there was a trick back when I was doing weightlifting in high school. I mean, my coach always said, find someone who you want to look like. Find someone when you're lifting weights that's the body I want. I was never somebody that, now, I go back to the 70s, so this is when Schwarzenegger was in his heyday, but I was never one that liked Arnold Schwarzenegger because he was way too big. In my opinion, he was way too big. I was always, if you're a bodybuilding guy, I was always a Frank Zane fan. And Frank Zane won the Olympia a couple of times after Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger won it 6, then Columbo won it once, and then Schwarzenegger won it again, and then Zane won it like 3 times. And Zane is a very different bodybuilder than Schwarzenegger. Where Schwarzenegger and Columbo and Sergio Oliva, who was before Schwarzenegger, were these huge guys. Zane was more of a not a bulky guy. He was like a really trimmed, cut person. Totally opposite of what the rest were. Now they eventually went back to the monsters you have now. But so that was my focus. And when I was playing football, my focus was never on, I'm trying to think of like Larry Zonko, because I knew I couldn't be a Larry Zonka. My focus was on, there was a defensive back for the Minnesota Vikings back then. His last name was Butler, I believe. And that's who my role model was. It's like, here's this little skinny white guy who could plaster you and run with any receiver they had. Now this is the 70s, so they weren't as fast as they are now. But even in triathlon and running, my heroes, I think I talked about this back in the day with Andrew, but my heroes tend to be not the pros. And my heroes would tend to be people I race with all the time. Like I would look at Jennifer, for example, and see here's somebody who works 20 hours, 22 hours a day and still found time to bike and run and swim, and so I looked to her like, how could I, say that I didn't have time to do it or that I was too tired when he or she was doing it. I look at Christine Cox, who's out there every day running 8 miles, 10 miles every morning. I look at, Megan or Karen or even Nancy, who have these lives and we're still out there doing it. And so those tend to be the people I look up to. And I think it's very important to find people who you kind of model. You want to model. You like things about certain people. You almost make like a kaleidoscope of these different things and kind of piece people together. But I think it's important to find that. So in the C becomes challenge yourself. And that's a slippery slope, I think, because even with the clients that I have, when they say they want to do this, or they want to do this race, they want to do this event, or they want to run a sub 20-minute mile, or whatever it has to be, or sub 10-minute mile, or sub 35K. That's all great. It's great to have that challenge, but I think where people go wrong, not go wrong, but where people kind of set themselves up is they choose a challenge that's just out of their reach, and so when they can't get to it, they look at themselves like they're failures. And I think the trick is to find something that is a challenge for you to get to, like say a sub 30. So you're running a a 12:30 mile or 13-minute mile, and your goal is a sub 30 miles. So you need to get under 10 minutes. That's doable. It's not doable in a week. It's not doable in a month. But if you come to me and say, I want to run a sub 30, and I look at your stats, if we're talking about it, and I look at your past, 3-mile runs, and I see you're running 35 minutes. Okay, we can do this. There's ways to do that. But my next question is, when do you want to do this by? And if you tell me, oh, I have a 5K in a month, well, I don't know. We can try. We can certainly try. I'm never going to be one to say no to you, but I think it needs to be more realistic. So when you challenge yourself, I think you need to challenge yourself, but be realistic about it as well. And that's usually where people misstep, is they want to, and I did it too, back in the Ironman Year 1 days, which was the first podcast we had. I wasn't ready for a full 140.6, and I did not have the time to put in for it, and kind of bit off a lot more than I could chew. And when I ultimately got, injured and couldn't do it, you have to live with that, and that's damaging to your psyche. And so I think you kind of ride that line where it's something I can do or something you can do, but not so far out there that you'll never, or it's not that you never, I don't want to say that, but so far out there that, your time and your abilities aren't jiving. And that's where a coach comes in to try to, or even friends, to kind of be the realistic there, the realism there. So use your resources. And that kind of goes with, the U is for use your resources. And it kind of goes with, the friends. You have friends that are out there. You have people, you have this podcast, you have the Facebook group. There are people in there that have done all sorts of things, failed at many things and been successful at many things. This is your resource. You need to use them. If you have a problem, you need to put it out there. You need to be realistic. You need to be real and put it out there and say, this is the issue I'm having. I strive very hard as the owner of that Facebook group and the owner of this podcast to be very, to make it sure that everybody is positive and nobody jumps on anybody. We're not going to be like these other groups that we've seen that turn into this. You ask a question, and it may be a question that's been asked 20, 30,000 times. We're never going to say, go back and read the damn notes. I'm never going to allow that. And if I see that, you're going to be warned, and then you're going to be gone. Because I don't want anybody to feel that they can't come into the group and ask those questions, no matter what it is, and get a good answer. We are your resource. So I want you to, there's people in there, as I said, that are just beginning. There are people in there that are running 8-minute miles, like Christine and Rob, and there are people in there that know what they're doing, and there are people in there that need help. So everybody uses everybody. We're your resource. So that's where you go. And the S is for strive to make a difference. And this is where I'll try not to be too preachy, but I think this is where I have to be careful to not get too political and not to get too religious. I'm not a religious person, but I believe we are here on this earth to help other people. I have a problem when I know that people feel that you're here to help yourself, and I think we are in a weird time, let's say, in history in this country, but we need to remain focused, and we need to say that we are here to make a difference. I am going to make a difference in someone's life, no matter what that is. If I have to raise money for cancer awareness or cancer research like I do through Team and Training, I'm not doing that. I'm the one that's got to go out there and do that 26.2 miles knowing that it's going to hurt like hell. But I also know that that money we raise is going to help somebody. It may not be today. It may not be a year from now. But eventually that money that Team and Training raises is going to help somebody. The money that we raise for the MS ride is going to help people. I feel like we need to make a difference in people's lives, no matter what that is. And if I, when I leave this earth, I mean, I hope that nobody remembers me as, a person that did their best to be a triathlete or did their best to run marathons. What I hope is that people look at me and remember me about that he tried to make a difference in people's lives. And if I can be remembered for that, then, I've done my job, and I'll be happy no matter where I'm at. I'll be either looking down at you or looking up at you, or not looking at you at all, depending on what you believe. So either way, I think you can leave a happy person if you've made a difference and you've helped people in the end. And that I will get off my podium at that point. So that's the end of episode 166. And like I said before, last week, these are a little bit different shows. I'm kind of recording these as I go along and think of things to say. Some a few minutes long, some might be a little bit longer. The show as a whole is probably a lot shorter than what you've been used to. I haven't heard any feedback really on what you think of this new format, except for Rob said that he liked the music interludes. But hopefully we get him back at some point, and if not, like I said before, we'll find a co-host eventually, or if I have to bring in guests every once in a while, we'll do that too. But I need input. I need you to tell me what you like, what you don't like. I need to know how you're feeling and what you like to hear about. And you can do that through the Facebook group. Go to facebook.com/group/teamE4E and join in. You can go to teamE4E on Instagram or Twitter, and we're there too. And go to the blog at fatslowtriathlete.com, or you can go to the team page at teamE4E.com. If you're interested in coaching, that's where you can find the coaching rates. New Year's starting, so the attack of the resolutionist is coming in a week. So we'll do our best to help you out, and don't let any kind of funding or monetary setbacks stop you from reaching out to us, because we can always work something out. So with that, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Whatever it is that you celebrate. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Endurance for Everyone podcast. If you have comments or questions for the show, send an email to teamE4E@enduranceforeveryone.com. And remember, swim calm, bike strong, and run steady.